There is one society in human history that eliminated pain completely. Every single one of them chose to disappear. 2031, 14 countries, one experiment. This time, no one asked you. They called it the Clarity Protocol. The entire policy fit in one sentence. Chronic emotional suffering is a public health burden, not a personal right. Reasonable, which is exactly why nobody fought it. A pill, once a day, smaller than an aspirin. It didn't kill pain. It killed the part of pain that felt like it meant something. Within 90 days, every institution that profits from human dysfunction had signed off. And people didn't just tolerate it, they loved it. Here's what no one mentioned at the press conference. The clinical trial had a third outcome category. Not improved, not unchanged. The category was labeled emotionally restructured. 14% of participants. Read that again. 1 in 7 people who took this pill came out the other side, structurally different. The researchers called it a side effect. They kept the trial running. One subject, a 41-year-old man from Portland, had lost his wife to cancer 8 months prior. Before the protocol, he described his grief as a second person living inside my chest. Heavy, constant, but mine. 6 weeks into the trial, a researcher asked him to describe that feeling again. He paused for a long time, then said, "I know it was there." Another pause. "I just can't find the room it was in." Then he looked down at his hands, like he was checking if they still belonged to him. The researchers marked him, responding well. They moved on. Productivity was up 34% within the first year. Mara was one of the 34%. Chicago, 37 years old, 2 kids, accountant. Her husband had left 2 years before the protocol launched. Every Sunday morning making coffee. She cried. No reason she could name. Hands trembling, vision blurring, then gone. She enrolled in November 2031. First week. The noise finally stopped. She meant it as relief. We wrote it down as success. What we didn't write down, 3 weeks after enrollment, Mara's daughter drew a picture at school. A family portrait. Mom, sister, a house. No father. That part made sense. But when the teacher asked her to color her mom's face, the girl picked gray. Not sad, not angry, just gray. The teacher noted it in a file. Nobody called Mara. One evening, Mara's daughter asked her something. 7 years old, school project. "Mom, what's your favorite song?" Mara paused, really thought about it. "Nothing. I don't know, honey. I can't remember." Her daughter laughed and moved on. Mara laughed and moved on. The silence between those two laughs. No one measured that. Road rage fatalities, nearly eliminated. Psychiatric emergency visits down 62%. Violent crime dropped in every participating city. People were sleeping better, eating better, showing up. By every available metric, this was working. This was genuinely, measurably working. And suicide rates fell to almost zero. So, we fixed it, right? The man who built the protocol had one public belief. Pain is not a feature. It is a malfunction. His name was Dr. Owen Farrell. His daughter's name was Lily. She was 23. January 2033. Car accident. She didn't survive. Small funeral, Chicago winter, wooden chairs, pale flowers, gray light. Farrell sat in the front row, back straight, hands on his knees. Through the entire service, no one cried. At first, it read as composure. The kind of grief that hasn't fully arrived yet. The kind that comes later, alone, when the car door closes. But it didn't come later, because everyone in that room was on the protocol, including the father. A journalist caught him outside. "How are you feeling, Dr. Farrell?" He didn't hesitate. "I'm fine." That night, alone in a hotel room, he sat on the edge of the bed, pressed his palms against his eyes, waited. Nothing came. Not suppressed, just absent, like trying to remember a word in a language you no longer speak. He came back to work 4 days later. Same posture, same handshake, and his colleague, someone who'd known him for 19 years, watched him deliver a lecture that Friday and thought, he didn't bury his daughter. His body attended an event. Those are not the same thing. He published 2 papers in the 6 months following Lily's death. One was about the neurological benefits of emotional regulation. It was his most cited work. He wrote it the week of her funeral. Nobody asked the obvious question. Nobody asked, if the protocol works, why does the man who invented it feel like a before photo? The system had an answer for that. The system always had an answer. The first serious objection came from a neurologist in Boston. We are not treating pain. We are amputating it. And amputations don't grow back because pain isn't noise. Pain is signal. That specific hollow feeling when someone you love leaves a room for the last time. That's not a flaw in your wiring. That's your nervous system filing it under. Irreplaceable. Switch off the signal, and you don't just lose the hurt, you lose the filing system. By 2034, the cultural erosion became visible. Music consumption dropped 80%. Not piracy, not competition. You reach for a song when something inside you needs a witness. When nothing needs witnessing, the song has nowhere to land. Publishing collapsed next. Then long-term relationships started quietly flattening. Not ending, just hollowing. Therapists coined a phrase, parallel cohabitation. 2 people, shared lease, separate interiors. No fights, no reaching across the bed at 3 a.m. either. Because that reach requires an ache, and aches had been reclassified. There was a couple in Seattle, together, 11 years, 2 protocol participants. They reported no conflict, no dissatisfaction, no desire to separate. A researcher asked them, separately, the same question. What do you love most about your partner? The husband said, she's reliable. The wife said, he's consistent. The researcher noted both answers as positive indicators. What she didn't note is that those are the words you use for a good appliance, not a person you chose, not a person whose absence would hollow a room. Mara left the protocol voluntarily in 2035. The first week was violent. Everything came back at once, louder than before. Sunday morning, coffee, tears. But this time she knew exactly what she was crying about. She remembered the song. She remembered the specific way she used to say her daughter's name to that song. She remembered the night he left, and understood, finally, why her body had refused to let it go. Because it was real, and real things leave marks. Marks hurt. That's the entire point of a mark. Her daughter noticed the change within days. Not the crying. Kids adjust to crying quickly. Something else. One morning, the girl climbed into Mara's lap while she was making coffee. Just sat there. Mara held her without thinking about it. Neither of them said anything for a long time. Later, her daughter said, "Mom, you feel different." Mara asked, "Different how?" The girl thought about it seriously the way 7-year-olds do, then said, "Like you're actually here." Mara didn't write that down anywhere. She didn't need to. Farrell never left. In some patients, long-term use had crossed a threshold. Not addiction, something quieter, structural. He still lectures, still publishes. Lily's photograph sits on his desk. Every morning he looks at it. Nothing arrives. He closes his laptop and starts his day. I need you to stop for a second. Not figuratively. Actually stop. Think of the specific person your body still hasn't finished grieving. Don't pick a concept, pick a name, say it in your head. Now a face. Now the last thing they said to you that you never properly answered. You have it. Now imagine a pill that removes all of it by morning. Clean, permanent, no withdrawal. You take it. Most people would. But here's what the consent form doesn't tell you. You don't get to choose what leaves with it. The pain goes, and attached to that pain like files zipped together, is the laugh you were there for, the last conversation, the specific weight of their hand, the version of yourself that only existed because of them. You were never just holding the hurt, you were holding them inside the hurt. The protocol doesn't know the difference, it just clears the folder. 17 countries, 64% participation. Numbers still climbing, and I understand it. Pain is not poetic when you're inside it. It's just damage. Wanting out isn't weakness. It's the most human thing there is. The protocol doesn't erase the pain. It erases the proof that someone was worth feeling it for. Farrell's alarm goes off at 6 a.m. every morning. He makes coffee. He looks at Lily's photograph. He goes to work. He has never once called in sick, not even the day she died. The system considers this a success. He considers this fine. You, tell me which one is worse.